Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecolored.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me, and today I have been making this little desk stand to hold post-it notes. Stay with me, I'll show you how. So today, with Christmas in mind, I've made this little post-it note holder, which I think would make a lovely little gift for maybe a teacher or for a colleague in your office if you do Secret Santa, something like that. Stay with me, I'll show you how I made it. So a couple of years ago, these post-it notes were super popular. Everybody was making them. I made a few of them myself. They were really, really cute. Everybody was loving them. But what I found with the ones that I made for myself was that after a while, the card, because we used coloured cardstock, was getting a little bit floppy. They weren't particularly robust. So today I wanted to make one that was a little bit stronger and that I hope would stand up to wear and tear a little bit better. And I am using chipboard as the basis for my post-it notes. So this is the stuff that I'm using. This is the last that's left of this particular sheet, and I'd say that is a light to medium weight chipboard. It's thicker than say a cornflake packet, something like that. But on the other hand, it's not really super heavy duty either. And I got it for free. Best price ever. Because it came as packaging with some designer series paper that I bought. So yeah, best price you can ever have. Best possible. And I always save my my protective sheets. One thing, they come in very handy for bookbinding, and they come in handy for projects like this as well. Alright, so I've chopped up my chipboard and I've cut 3 1/8 of an inch square. I've cut one piece 1.5 by 3 1/8. I've cut two pieces 1 inch by 3 1/8, and I've cut three pieces that are 1/2 inch by 3 1/8. So I'm going to pop all of those on one side just for a second. I've cut two pieces of my designer series paper. I think this is called a silhouette. I'll look it up and I'll put the proper name up there for you. And I've cut two pieces that are 4 1/4 by 9 inches. And I have one piece that's 2 7/8 and the full 12 inches. And I've written the measurements on there because that will remind me that that's going to be the side that sticks down. Okay. So I'm going to begin by bringing in my trimmer, and I'm going to score 1/2 inch from either side of my designer series paper. And I'm just trying to decide. I'm going to leave that edge. I'm just going to do the two sides here, because that will help me position my chipboard if I've got 1/2 inch guidelines. Alright. And now I'm going to take my pre-cut chipboard pieces and I'm going to lay them out onto my paper so that I know roughly where I want things to go. So I've got one of the 3 1/8 squares, one of the 1 3 1/8, and the other one of the 1 3 1/8 squares, and I'm going to have to join my paper, so I'm thinking very carefully about where I join it, and I'm going to bring in my scissors. I could use my paper trimmer, but for this particular case it doesn't really matter, and I'm just going to chop away that bit. Okay, right. And I'm just going to realign these pieces. So I've got a nice overlap there because this is going to be hidden by the bottom seam. Okay, so let's bring that a bit nearer there. Don't mind having a big overlap there because that is going to come in handy later. And then I want another one on my 3 1/8, and I'm butting that one right up against that edge there, and then one on my long pieces and another one of my long pieces. So that is going to be the layout for something. Right, I'm going to begin by joining these two pieces of paper at that crossover point that we made earlier on. So that the seam, so what I want is that the seam to be hidden underneath the post-it note holder when it's in use. Right. Alright, now you can see the join, you can clearly see the join, but if we arrange things properly, it won't be terribly visible. Alright, so now I'm going to take one of the 1 3/8 pieces, and I'm going to apply it so that it is level with that seam, because that is where the paper will fold. Yeah. And now I can work outwards from there using my liquid adhesive. Whoops. Fortunately that's not going to matter because that's all going to be on the inside, and I'm leaving a little bit of a space between those two pieces of chipboard. And now same thing again here, again leaving a little bit of a space. That's, I think that's just under 1/8 of an inch. And if you want to be super precise, you can make yourself a little spacer by sticking two pieces of chipboard together, which I did earlier on, and I've put it down and lost it. But you can just do this. Stick two pieces of chipboard together and just make sure that you can kind of fit them in between spaces, and that'll give you a nice precise spacing. And so my next piece is going to go right about here, and those score lines that I made are helping me keep my chipboard nice and straight. And again, use my spacer piece, or just eyeball it, it's entirely up to you. Right, now this is going to be the bit that folds over at the top. So this is going to be kind of for the lid. Again, trying to get this. Now that's not straight at all, is it? I'm not good at straight. I will confess to that now. And the last 3 1/8 square. Now of course I've written the measurements onto my pieces, so so that you can kind of see what they are. Of course, you do not have to do anything of the kind. Alright, so now I'm going to get my bone holder, which is actually not made of bone at all, it's made of plastic, and I'm going to rub those down well. I'm using a wider tape than my tearing tape, mainly because I just want the tape to be a little bit wider. And sticking it into place. Okay. So I'm going to stick the sides down. I'm going to bring these pieces in. I'm going to leave these where they are just for a little while. So this is the second version of this that I've made recently. The first one was beautiful, but my computer just absolutely refused to save the recording. And yeah, that was all that work, and I couldn't show you how I'd done it. And yeah, with that in mind, okay, I've got those pieces stuck down and burnished, and going back to my previous thoughts, so with that in mind, I'm going to stop the recording here and hope that it saves, because my computer. Before I go any further, I want to attach the pocket that the post-it notes are going to sit into, and I've done some measuring up and some calculation, which I've written on the back of my chipboard there, and I have cut a piece that is 3 inches by 5 1/8, but I've rounded it up to 5 1/4 because I want to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. So on with the short side to the top of my bar, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch on one side, and then at 1/2 inch and 1 inch on the other side, and then on the short sides I'm going to score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch and 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay, so this is going to be the inside. So I don't know why I scored on it. Right, let's just burnish those folds the way we want them. Oh, that was a big clap of thunder. I don't know whether that came across on the recording, but it was quite loud. Okay, so this bit is going to be the bit that kind of folds over the edge of the pocket. So I'm not going to need these 2 little squares here, and I'm just going to cut them away. I'm going to chop them away, and I'm just going to kind of cut it slightly at an angle so that I make I reduce the amount of paper there just a little bit. This bit is going to go onto the inside of the holder, so I'm just going to chop those edges away just a little bit, so that's going to kind of look like that. So I must have been startled by the thunder or something, because I've just realised that I cut away these 2 squares in these corners here because I really needed them to be the flaps that folded over on the sides of the box here, but it's not to worry because we can fix it. Alright, so taking one of my 3/4 of an inch strips of chipboard that I've got left, and I've trimmed them down so that they're the same length, chopped it in half and cut it down so that it's the same length as the piece that's going to be on the front. And I'm going to just place that there just for a moment so that I know what I'm doing, and that is going to go on the bottom like that. So I'm going to trim away, snip into this fold here, okay, and I'm going to make a tab with that one, and I don't need this little square in the corner here, so I'm going to chop that away. See, now I'm being very, very careful about what I get rid of and what I keep, because I've just kind of lost my confidence a bit. Alright, so I want this edge to be free. Let me have a little bit of a think about how I want this to go. Yeah. So I'm going to snip into that, and I'm going to snip all the way. So now I have that sort of shape going on, and that will come up there like that. And I'm going to do it this way, I think. So that will go into there. And the same thing on this side then. So that, snip that, snip that, snip that away. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to stick the front of my pocket onto the inside like so, making sure that everything will come around the way I want it to. And now these pieces, I'm going to stick down so that they come up to the side. So I'm sort of creating a little box shape here. Let me fold those pieces back so that you can see what I'm doing. Yeah. Same thing on this side. Alright, now, so with my short pieces and the bit of DSP that I cut off by mistake, I'm going to wrap that around one end of it, just so that it looks nice and finished, and then I'm going to stick that inside there. And same thing with this one. Now the only reason why I'm wrapping the chipboard in the paper is because I shouldn't have cut these corners off in the first place. I should have left them, and then when I'd stuck these pieces in place, then I would have folded them over and given it a nice finished edge. But as I said, I was startled by the thunder. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. So that's going to be the front of my pocket. I'm just going to adjust it for fit. He was given up the ghost on that one. And now my last piece of chipboard. goes into the bottom of the pocket. Now I'm ready to stick this piece onto this piece, and the way I'm going to do it is I've applied my tear and tape. I have used tear and tape this time, not the slightly wider tape, and I've put it on what's going to be the outside, the front side of this flap, and on the insides of these two flaps. I'm going to start with placing it on this flap. If I can get the backing to come up and leave the tear and tape behind it. It doesn't want to play this morning. There we go. Managed to persuade it. I did get some solvent onto this piece, and I think it's not quite evaporated yet. So I'm using tape and glue for this one, and I'm going to line that up with the bottom of this flap here, like that. So the reason why I have tape and liquid adhesive is because the tape will grab immediately, but the liquid adhesive is going to be there for the long haul. Okay, and then same thing on the side pieces. Okay. Thunder. I was startled by the thunder. It's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Just like the tape, which seems to be sticking to the paper beautifully on this side. Alright, same thing again. Liquid adhesive for the long haul. Tear and tape for the fast grab. Bring that up. Bring it round. I'm going to bring in my packet of posties and pop them in there just to make sure that I have plenty of room for them, and I do, so I'm quite happy with that. Right, so now at last I can start thinking about what's going on the inside, and let's have another. I'm ready now to finish off the inside of the post-it note holder. I've made a start by putting some of my wider double-sided tape down the centre, and I've released the flaps at that end of the holder, and I'm going to do the same thing up at this end. So I'm just snipping in with my scissors and just reducing the bulk there very slightly, not very much, so that I can open it out. And now I'm just going to trim away kind of a long skinny angle on this side and that side, so it will kind of fold over like that when I want it to. I have my piece of DSP, and I'm going to put that side to the inside of I don't know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. Okay, so I'm very carefully just taking away some of the backing on the double-sided tape, and I'm coming in with this piece, and I'm just going to butt it up right against the edge of the chipboard, and I'm going to press it down carefully, and I'm going to make that crease with my bone folder. Couldn't think of the name of it for a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to do the next section. And now I am going to close it up. So I've got my 2 pieces of my double-sided tape onto that long flap I left. Now it doesn't have to be as long as that, but I'm not going to need the paper for anything else, so I might as well make it a nice strong overlap. So same drill, double-sided tape for the quick win, liquid adhesive to make sure it stays shut. So I'm not going to stick it to this flap, that's going to be the lid, so I'm going to bring the top over and I'm sticking it to that centre flap there. And I've got a bit sticking out here, wasn't quite, so I'm going to trim that away. And that is the post-it note holder that just needs a little bit of decoration now. So for the decoration, I've cut some of the stitched stars and I've used Mango Melody cardstock because I think it contrasts very well with the dark blue paper. And I've also stamped the sentiment "You're the best," which is from A Good Man, onto another scrap of that Mango Melody cardstock, and I just need to stick everything down. So I'm going to start with my largest star and I'm going to decide where I want that, and about there looks good. And let's just slide that over a little bit, give it a little bit more room for the medium-sized star, which I can pop on hereabouts. Again, the nice thing about liquid adhesive is that it does give you a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of time to reflect and consider. And now I have my "You're the best" sentiment. It goes right across the front there. Or does it? Shall we just put it up there? Like that. Yeah. At a jaunty angle. And that's it. All I need to do is to pop my post-it notes in place, and that is ready to be gifted. There's the finished article, and I do like this colour combination, very bright and cheerful. But if I bring in the first one I made, which was the one that my computer absolutely refused to cooperate with, this one is in the Bird Ballad paper with stamps from Free as a Bird, and I used a stitched one of the stitch shapes, one of the circles, and that is in that's in Petal Pink. This one I put a magnet, and I meant to put magnets in this one, so I've got a magnet there and a magnet there, and I stuck the paper over them so that it closes quite firmly. And this one, it's fine, it closes up just fine, but I did mean to put the magnets in, but I was startled by the thunder. That is my excuse for everything at the moment, startled by the thunder. So that is it for today. Do hope that you've enjoyed watching this video, and if so, would be absolutely thrilled if you came back and saw me again sometime soon. Left me a comment, click the like button, all of that good stuff. But for now, once more, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.